And so let me demonstrate some of the things that I can do. So let's say I pull a control point, and as you can see, as I manipulate the control points, this lattice itself deforms, and the deformation corresponds with an actual frequency shift intonation that occurs in proportion to the deformation. So as the lattice returns back to its normal state, as you can see that the tone slowly decreases. But now you can see that the lattice is extremely deformed, and I can do things like change the damping to keep the lattice even further deformed after I manipulate the lattice control points. Now, let's say I want to do things like change some of the parameters. So I'm going to actually create a much more stiff version of this lattice. And as you can see, as I create a stiffer version of this lattice, the frequency also changes, but the lattice is also a little bit more or less pliable to deformation. So let's create a very highly damped lattice, and as you can see, with a very highly damped lattice, the entire lattice sort of spatially vibrates because the damping factor changes such that all the control points now kind of have their own sort of curve that they're traveling against, and they're distributing the energy more evenly across their surfaces. Now, I can change the damping again dynamically, and as you can see, the damping is very low now, and the lattice sort of slowly reforms back into its shape, but it's still, permanently deformed. I have to reload it. So now I've created an attack and release parameter, which the attack and release are related to sort of like attack on release on a guitar or a sustain, such that I've put a very high attack and a very high release. Let's see how this behaves. As you can see, the pitch is the most demonstrative of the results of me changing the attack and the release units here. But overall, as you can see, the lattice is still very stiff. So I'm going to reduce the stiffness of the lattice overall to 0. And as you can see, now I can deform the mesh. And this lattice stiffness is causing the lattice to just, not even return back to its normal position. There's no pliability here. But again, I change the stiffness back to very high. The lattice sort of returns back to its normal state. Now I'm going to change the scale. I use the chromatic scale now, and as you can tell, the chromatic scale has quite the effect on the actual range of pitches. They all sound sort of alien Star Trek sounding, but I changed the chromatic scale output to create essentially the 12 tones, the major tones and minor tones, instead of just major pentatonic or minor pentatonic. Let's try a Phrygian scale. And as you can tell, the instrument kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility with the different modes that you can try. And we'll try a pentatonic, minor pentatonic. And as you can tell, that this does definitely sound minor pentatonic. You can tell from that little bit of sadness that sort of emanates. And if I was playing some neoclassical music or using this to play neoclassical music, it would be much more evident. Now I've overdamped or underdamped the lattice, so it sort of goes back into the bubbly vibration state. And let me add some more reverb to it. As you can see, the reverb adds to the spaciness, but let me increase the stiffness all of a sudden. Now the lattice sort of freezes in place, reduces its motion, and as you can tell, I can fling these with a reduced stiffness just very far, And I am back to where I was with the reduced damping. Damping is completely changed such that now the instrument stays in place and the tones sort of stay in place, and I can treat this almost as a standard musical instrument. There's no release now, and so yeah. Now this is basically my lattice simulation, my orchestral lattice simulation. If you like this and other tools that I develop, please remember to comment, like, subscribe, and I will come up with a new lattice simulation for you, a new variant or a new synthesization tool at some point if you enjoy what I do. So thank you so much and have a good day.